Iran is grappling with its worst drought in decades, with water levels in reservoirs plummeting to critically low levels. In Mashhad, the country's second largest city, water storage in dams has dropped to less than 3%. Authorities are now emphasising the urgent need to manage water use as shortages escalate across the country. Tehran, which is home to 10 million people, is facing a dire situation with its main reservoirs, including the Amir Kabir Dam, dangerously low on water. Officials have already implemented periodic water cuts to conserve supplies, and the situation is expected to worsen unless significant rainfall occurs very soon. President Masoud Pezeshkian has warned of potential evacuation plans for Tehran if rain does not fall before the end of the year. This comes as half of Iran's provinces have seen no rainfall for months, affecting millions of people across the country. Now, Peter, of course, this seems to be a dire situation, even a situation which might lead to the evacuation of the Iranian capital. Do you see this as a major internal stability threat for Iran?
Absolutely, Thomas, and I've been writing about this for months now in my articles for Weekly Blitz. I'll just give your audience some kind of hardships that the Iranians are going through. In Tehran, which is most affected, if one lives in an apartment block of 20 floors or more, for months now, for only 2 hours in every day, if you're living in, say, floors 3 and above, the water pressure is 0, and therefore apartment dwellers can only get 2 hours of running water a day. If you're on the ground floor or first floor, perhaps, you get something like 4 hours a day. Public toilets are closed. Hospitals are unable to function to anything like their full capacity, and the business sector is suffering tremendously, as is the agricultural sector, which previously had been the recipient of 85% of the Iranian water supply. Climate change, mismanagement, infrastructure irrepair are all having similar effects. Pipes are bursting for what water there is. The reservoir levels are, as you quite rightly reported, Thomas, really low, and the medium-range weather forecast is that no rain for the next couple of months. So wouldn't it be remarkable if natural disaster brought down the Iranian regime and not the superpowers such as the USA and Israel and the domestic opposition? And there's one other thing, Thomas, that is equally important, unreported by mainstream media. During the war with Israel, Iran decided to ethnically cleanse their Afghan population, frankly, for a number of reasons. One, because they couldn't cope with the illegal immigrants coming into Iran who were further draining the economy. And secondly, they used the excuse that the Afghans were Zionist spies. Now, those Afghans in Iran were a major source of revenue stream for Afghanistan. And Afghanistan, the Taliban, have reacted very harshly by cutting off water supplies that under the Helmand Agreement of 1973 they were obliged to do. So the exacerbating the lack of water in Iran is the Afghan government, who have cut off, under international agreements I may add, the 825 cubic meters of water, 825 million cubic meters of water, litres of water, they were obliged to supply under international agreements. They've just ignored such agreements as a measure in response to Iran kicking out nearly 1 million Afghans. So Iran is under severe pressure, and this could create chaos, has already created chaos, and there's opposition in the streets, there's riots in many of the provinces.
Yes, Peter Bourne, thank you very much for bringing us those updates and that insight. Pleasure to have you on the programme, as always. We now move on over to Europe for our next story. And Russian forces says it has taken control of another settlement in Ukraine's southeastern Zaporozhye region. In a statement, the Russian Defense Ministry stated that its troops claimed the village of Roybin, located about 17 kilometers north of the city of Hudiliapol, which is a key frontline area. The village is also roughly 36 kilometers west of the Velkya Novosibirka, a town that Russia claimed to have seized earlier this year in the neighboring Donetsk region. Roybin lies near the administrative border between Zaporozhye and the Dnipropetrovsk regions. Meanwhile, Ukraine's general staff reported repelling 18 Russian assaults near 7 settlements in the Oleksandrivka front, including Krashornysky, which is less than a kilometre from Roybin. Ukrainian officials have not yet commented on Russia's latest claim, and independent verification remains difficult amid the ongoing war. We're now joined by Alison Mutler. She's the former Associated Press bureau chief in Romania, and she joins us live from Bucharest. Alison, of course, Russia once again claiming to make gains on Russia's eastern front, this time in the Zaporozhye region. Could you tell us a little bit more about Zaporozhye, why it is so important, why Russia is pushing hard on the offensive there, and of course also what we need to talk about is information coming out of this war. What is reliable? What isn't? How does one go about navigating information coming out of the Eastern Front?
Well, as you rightly say, it's very difficult. The information coming out is very one-sided from Russia, and they have particular interest to stress that they are winning this war, that their offensive is having an effect, that they are seizing Ukrainian territory, and not just Ukrainian territory which is very strategic for them, which is where the Ukrainian defensive lines lie, the logistics hub, etc. And this is where the Russian ethnic minority is. It's very important for Russia to present a picture to its own people, but also to the world that it is digging in, that its offensive is working, and that the Ukrainian defense is cracking. But that's not in the slightest bit clear, because we only have the Russian assertion that they have seized this place, which, you know, if they had, it would be strategic for them. It wouldn't be majorly strategic, but it would be a small victory for them. It's very unclear to me. First of all, we don't have anything from the Ukrainian side. And secondly, we don't have any international bodies in there. We don't have any international media in there. So I'm not saying it's not true, but I'd be quite skeptical on what Russia, we cannot claim, we cannot report with any confidence what the Russian side is saying, because they have a strategic interest and a tactical interest also to state that they are seizing these places. They've been on an offensive, as we've been reporting for the last few days, and they're trying very hard to get this for the Ukrainian defense lines to collapse and to seize this part of Ukraine, which has a lot of mineral supplies there, but it also is the Ukrainian logistics hub. So it's very important for them, but it's very important for them as the Russians do. Optics for the Russians are very important. It's very important for them to be seen to be winning, to be making gains in this eastern part of Ukraine, which is strategic for them. But Ukraine is obviously, we've seen, in previous weeks and months, they've put up a very, very fierce fight. They've been putting up fierce resistance against the Russians, and it's not been easy. And the Russians, I think, are stretched pretty thin, and they're desperate for any victory that will give them good optics. It will make them look like they are not out of this war, that they are actually winning in their attempts to get Ukraine to surrender or to seize key Ukrainian territory.
Yes, and Alison, Ukrainian forces, of course, are already stretched on several fronts. How do you think that the Ukrainian army is dealing with the ongoing offensives? Of course, you've got the intense battle of Pavlovsk going on. Is this a pattern of exhaustion on the Ukrainian side if this these Russian territorial gains turn out to be true?
Yes, it is a war of attrition. It is a war. It's not just a physical war, not just a military war on the ground, but it's also a psychological war. Because what has shocked Russia from day number one is they thought that Ukraine would crumble within a few days, within a month, or worse, within a year. And Ukraine has fought back valiantly and very strongly. And so it's very important for Russia to wear down the Ukrainian defense. And they are really, really trying hard with this latest offensive. And it's very hard for me to make a pronouncement because we don't actually know, but they are making huge efforts, and they seem to be making some steps. Whether it's enough to claim even a small local victory, it's unclear at the moment, but they are very determined to wear down the Ukrainians, both militarily, but also psychologically and politically, so they can go to the negotiating table and say, look, we've seized this, because we do know Russia has maximalist demands. Maximalist means they want the most, they want to say that they control this amount of Ukrainian territory after their invasion of Ukraine. Those are their demands, and for what we've seen from political talks, they're not going to give in to those. So they need to make some military gains to be able to sustain, whether or not they win those territorial demands, but they need to be able to show, yes, we have these demands, and this is what we've done on the battlefield.
Yes, Alison, thank you very much. Do stay with us as we have further updates coming out of the conflict. Now, according to local authorities, electricity supply in Taganrog, located in Russia's Rostov region, has fully now been restored. Earlier, some parts of the city had been without power for several hours due to an emergency shutdown of a high voltage line. Local media reported that a transformer substation caught fire, but the authorities did not confirm the exact cause of the outage. Emergency crews worked on restoration efforts, and power was expected to return within 2 hours. And the incident occurred on the morning when an explosion at the transformer substation caused a fire, leaving several districts without power and water. Local authorities assured that there were no casualties and the fire was promptly extinguished. Alison joins us once again. Alison, of course, this signals, although Ukraine has not taken responsibility for this yet, of course this signals the escalating strikes, barrages, violence upon both Ukrainian and Russian energy infrastructure in this conflict. Of course, we saw 7 people killed earlier today in a substation attack. What does this say, especially during the time of year, about the development of this conflict, particularly about strikes when it comes to energy infrastructure on the east, in both Russia and in Ukraine?
Well, it's obviously a very strategic war. They're trying to strike energy because, as you say, it's a time of year when people need heat, they need water, they need light, more so than in the summer. So rather than just striking civilians, they are striking these power plants. It's unclear whether Ukraine played a role in this power outage. It's quite possible they did. I looked on the map. This place is on the Black Sea. It's in Russian territory. Not Russian territory that they seized in Ukraine. It's in Russian territory, but it's right on the Black Sea, and it's very close to the Ukrainian border. So it's very possible that Ukraine did strike these facilities. But again, it's very important for Russia to say, okay, we had a problem, but we fixed it. And so, we are providing power. It's not a big problem for us. We're providing power for our citizens. And even if we have problems that that the power line has been struck, we can fix it in a couple of hours. So again, optics are very important. Whatever problems we're under, whether it's war or some other reason, but it does seem to be likely that it's a Ukrainian strike. Russia is saying we are strong. Even if they attack us, we can fix it within a couple of hours.
Alison, thank you very much. Do stay with us once again. We have some breaking news coming in from the United States, where air travel in the US may soon slow to a trickle, officials have warned, as the federal government shutdown continues to cause major disruptions. Thousands of flights have already been cancelled or delayed, leaving passengers stranded and holiday travel plans in jeopardy. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy told local media that the situation could worsen ahead of Thanksgiving, with fewer air traffic controllers reporting to work due to the shutdown. He added that there is going to be massive disruptions and many angry Americans. With the holiday just 2 weeks away, airlines and airports are bracing for further chaos unless Congress resolves the funding deadlock that has left critical aviation staff unpaid. Alison Mutler joins us once again. Alison, thousands of flights are delayed in the United States. This is due to, of course, this ongoing government shutdown, which we are now entering its 40th day, the longest government shutdown in United States history. How unprecedented is this situation?
Well, it is unprecedented, and it shows there is a real political deadlock within the Congress. And it's not just a political deadlock. The political deadlock has effects, and as you say, it's affecting ordinary people, ordinary citizens, Americans who want to travel across the United States. It's a huge country. A lot of people want to go home for the holidays, for Thanksgiving. And this shows how the sort of political deadlock, the political disagreement filters down and affects ordinary people. And this will anger a lot of people, and it won't add to stability in the United States. Because we have, as your report said, as the Transport Secretary said, we have thousands of flights affected. That means possibly tens of thousands of people. So there is pressure on the Democrats and the Republicans to find a resolution to this, because it doesn't help either side, neither the Democrats nor the Republicans, because the people who are travelling support both political parties. So I think when it affects ordinary people like this, there is more political pressure on the two parties to resolve their political disputes and problems.
Yes, Alison Mutler, thank you very much. Brilliant, as always, to have you here on the broadcast. Thank you very much for taking the time. We now move over to Europe, and French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot, during his visit to Colombia, vowed to defeat the fast-growing drug trafficking trade that is increasingly impacting Europe. Barrot emphasized France's commitment to working with Latin American nations to curb cocaine flows entering Europe. Barrot toured Colombia's new Caribbean port of Puerto Antigua, a key export hub where the powerful Clan del Golfo cartel is very much active. He praised Colombian authorities for their cooperation and called for stronger joint intelligence operations between Europe and Latin America. Let's take a listen in to his statements.
Résolu à faire échec à ces trafics en tout genre, et pas uniquement le narcotrafic, qui soulève des questions de santé publique pour notre pays, mais aussi de sécurité des Françaises et des Français. Nous ne pouvons pas rester spectateurs de l'explosion du narcotrafic en Amérique latine, dans les Caraïbes, mais aussi en Europe, où l'on voit désormais non seulement la drogue déferler, mais les narcotrafiquants se déplacer, installer des laboratoires, déployer leurs activités. Tout ça doit...
We turn next to the ongoing